know that we will be recording these sessions. So if you don't want your voice on the recording, probably keep your microphone muted. Throughout the presentations, if you have any questions, so today our moderator's Ryan Thompson, so Tomo is going to moderate, put your question inside the chat, and then he'll stop me at an appropriate time to be able to answer your question pretty much straight away. This is our first one, so I apologise in advance if we have any sort of little technical issues, but with technology, there's always that that chance that maybe something might go wrong in regards to bandwidth or the presentation being on the wrong screen, which some of you guys got the other day, but we think we've ironed that out. So basically what I'm talking about today is the WolfPack Way, which is a term that gets bandied around the club a fair bit, but what does it actually mean? What is it? So this is from my perspective what it is, and this is direction we want to go in when we talk about the WolfPack Way, and in particular the values we hold near and dear, as well as some of the player attributes that we want in our players, and some of the things that we should be looking to develop in our players to give them the best possible opportunity moving forward to achieve what they want to achieve within basketball as a sport. So can everyone see the slideshow, which should be on the screen that I'm screen sharing? Yeah, I see Andrew nodding. Yeah, cool. All right, so most of you guys know me. I won't go into too much detail about me because you know who I am already, everyone in this room. So basically what we're going to talk about today is what is the WolfPack Way. So a bit of a definition as to what it is. So it's definitely very Wolves-centered, and this whole presentation. You know, what are our key values as a club, and what are the things that we feel are very important, you know, for us. What is important that we develop, embrace, and drive this culture. So why are we having a conversation now about the WolfPack Way and what it is and why it's important to us? Our whole development over winning philosophy, so developing athletes first, that has to be our priority first and foremost. And then important player attributes, the attributes that we're looking for in our players and we're looking to develop in our players more importantly. There will be some time for questions at the end, but I'm more than happy for you guys to ask questions during the presentation as well. As I said, throw it in the chat and then Tomo will throw it to me. And then just a little bit about mental well-being at the end of this. So the WolfPack Way. So this is the name of the curriculum that I'm putting together. So Andrew and Ryan have asked me to put a full club curriculum together. So I haven't been sitting on my hands doing nothing. I've been putting together, you know, a full document with what the style of play and skills matrix, and you know what we want each age group to be sort of to be doing and executing, and what we want to be seen as a club. But it's a little more than that. You know, it's the overlying cultural values that we hold near and dear and we embrace at the Wolves. So we have a development first mentality. So we're thinking what is best for our athletes, not necessarily what is best for the coach. You know, we want to make sure that we develop talent through a positive and progressive and constructive environment, which increases the chances that they'll be able to play at a higher level, which is making state teams, which is getting into our SBL squad, which is going to college, which is playing it in the MBL. So for me, if we develop properly, so with development, the results will come. We need to be developing first. That has to be our priority. That has to be our focus. And that's the direction that we want to make sure we're heading in. And with the coaches that we have fully embraced this idea of the WolfPack Way, which is developing people so that they can achieve what they want to within our sport, and hopefully some things outside of the sport as well. So our core values are disciplined. So we need people that are going to choose to do what they should be doing rather than what they want to be doing. So as an example, it's teaching individual defensive concepts instead of trapping zones. You know, making sure that we do the right thing over what we want to do. Being selfless, so putting the team first, putting our club first, and making sacrifices for the overall success of the team, of the organisation, ahead of personal glory. Being relentless, so being relentless in our pursuit of greatness. So we're so intensely craving our results that the work becomes irrelevant. We work hard, we work long, we do the things we need to develop the people to be as successful as they possibly can be, and then being accountable. So everyone is answerable to the actions and the decisions they make, and just holding each other to a really, really high standard, and the standards that we set as a club. So I think that's all fairly self-explanatory, but it's just broken down in a way that you're able to understand. So our core values are being disciplined, being selfless, being relentless, and holding myself, yourselves, holding each other accountable. So why? So the WolfPack Way will sort of be a guide to develop, to focus on development above all else. So in junior basketball, there's definitely an emphasis on results, and I've been noticing that at all levels, at domestic level, at wobble level. People are worried about winning rather than developing the fundamental skills of the game, which are obviously dribbling, passing, shooting, defending, and rebounding. If we don't develop these within our athletes at a young age, they will end up falling out of the game and not achieving what they set out to achieve when they started on that journey as a young kid. So we need to make sure that everyone within our organisation is focused on the WolfPack Way, which is development first and developing those fundamental skills. So development over winning. So we need to understand it's more than just basketball. So that might sound a little crazy, but the amount of times that we influence, these kids without even knowing, these athletes without even knowing, is crazy. So with my experience over the years, the number of players that come up to me after a season and ask for my advice on things inside basketball and outside basketball is amazing. So over my journey coaching SBL, I've been invited to weddings, I've been asked advice on love, I've been asked advice on work, I've been asked to be references, lots of personal issues as well. It's more than just basketball. And as coaches, we need to realise that we have a responsibility to our people to make sure that we're teaching them the right things. We're teaching them how to be good people, obviously on the court and outside the court as well. We should be setting up our people to succeed. Now, one of the things over time that I've worked out, basketball isn't X's and O's. It's more about interpersonal relationships. It's building that chemistry with your players individually, because they all have different goals, they all have different ambitions, they all have different attitudes. So it's really important that we are setting our players up to be successful. And then we'll go into it a little bit further where people learn differently. So if we understand our players, we understand our athletes, we're able to influence them and help them achieve what they want to achieve. So that's really important. When they leave our program, they need to be ready for the next part of their journey. So if that's going to college, we need to prepare them for that. If that's playing SBL, and we've got Andrew Somerville, the men's head coach in the chat here, we need to prepare them for Andrew. We got to make sure that the girls are prepared for me at this point in time. And then if they go on to play at a high level, they need to be prepared for that as well. And it might be preparing themselves for things outside of basketball as well. So just teaching them how to be respectful, how to be resilient, how to be hardworking, so that they can succeed in other areas of their life as well. So what is coach should help them outside of the sport as well. So with the development focused approach, I feel like the results will come. Focus on the small things, focus on the individuals, and try and help them achieve what they want to achieve within the sport. Now, the player attributes, but I feel like we'll just go into that. So our number one priority at the Junior Wolves is player development. We understand the many attributes that make up an elite player and focus on harnessing and developing those characteristics to give our players the best chance of rising through the ranks and playing at the highest level they can. And I think the highest level they can is really important. We all understand that not every single kid that comes through our program is going to be a stud. That's just not the reality of it. But we want to give them the best opportunity to play at the highest possible level they can, so that when they leave the sport, they're like, well, I was at the Wolves and they taught me this, they taught me this, they taught me this, And these are all areas that are helping me to achieve what I achieve in my life now. So we aim to develop the following attributes in our people. So physical attributes, which I'll go through, their skill set, their mental, game sense, intellectual part of the game, and the social or interpersonal, I've actually put in there as well, so interpersonal aspects as well. So I can't stress the importance of emotional intelligence and the ability to control and regulate emotions in our environment enough, as well as the quality of resilience in our people. We need the ability to push through when things aren't exactly going to plan. And there's a lot of coaches in this room that I've had conversations with over a period of time that I've been at the Wolves, and we talk about resilience and pushing through and working hard. And I think to myself, you know, we can complain about it, or we can really try and instill these qualities in our people by putting them in situations where they have to make decisions, where they have to really rely on their internal strength to be able to push through, you know. So I think resilience and that emotional intelligence, be able to control and really work and focus on one thing is something we can help our athletes with. And I think it's something moving forward we need to do. Bill Russell, who's the greatest winner in basketball history, 11 championships. So concentration and mental toughness are the margins of victory. So it's more than just basic skill. It's being able to focus. It's being able to push through. And I feel like this is a quality that's sort of gone missing. And I'm more than happy to have a discussion in the question time at the end about this, that maybe we're not doing ourselves favours with at the moment by pushing our players to have to play through these sorts of things. So, so when we're looking at physical attributes, so there's a couple of things that are out of our control. So height, that's not something that's genetic. You know, we can't make someone taller that's not going to be tall. I think we all wish that we were 6'7", 6'8", and athletic, but unfortunately it's not reality. So it is a physical attribute that we need to be aware of. And there are latecomers to the game that we've had come into our programs that we have to be aware. Obviously they're tall, but their basic skill set isn't great, so we have to work with them. Now, when it comes to height, we don't want to be a club that pigeonholes kids. So if you've got the big kid, we don't want our coaches throwing them into the post. We want them developing their ball handling, their passing, their shooting, you know, because it could be, and again, I know this is pie in the sky stuff, it could be an Anthony Davis out there, which was a point guard. He grows, you know, 1.5 feet when he gets into high school, and then he becomes a center that can handle the ball. So we want to make sure that we're giving everyone the opportunity to play different positions and learn no matter what their height is. Obviously, length is important, and that's where style of play comes in. If anyone remembers the SBL, I think 2.5 years ago, there was a coach that came out from the States that was under Shaka Khan. His main name was Michael Clark, and they played a really athletic, get in your face, long, shooting lots of threes type style of play, but he had a bunch of 6-foot players trying to execute that game plan, and they got beaten by 30, 40 every single night. So, you know, obviously these physical attributes are important, but you need to have a style of play. And I think the style of play that we're going for as a club will definitely allow us to do that. It's honest, it's hardworking, and it's got a defensive sort of backbone. Things that we can help our athletes with when it comes to the physical, a sprint speed. So first step, helping them with first step, helping them to get faster. Their agility and flexibility, you know, working on, those cone drills and reaction drills. Core strength and conditioning, and we're lucky, and I see a guy in our group right now, and Jason Power, who works with a lot of athletes that are trying to help them with these things like core strength and flexibility and agility. And we have a lot of resources in our club that we can use to help us with these things, but these are things that we can control. These are things that we can help them get better at. And if we help our kids with these physical aspects, they're going to be better players at the end of the day. Skill set is another one, and this is where, as coaches, our major focus is with our kids. So the technical sports specific skills, and I've said this fairly consistently, and I know Andrew, our CEO and men's head coach, is a big believer, but footwork is the #1 most important skill in the game. Every single aspect of the game involves footwork, with the ball or without the ball. it involves footwork. So footwork has to be our #1 focus. If we have players coming through the ranks with sound footwork, they're going to be able to execute the skill that they're trying to execute at that point more effectively, more efficiently, and it's the #1 important skill. So just teaching our athletes footwork first. Passing, again, anyone that's been to our training sessions has seen that passing hasn't, I've seen that passing hasn't been probably as important as it should be. So passing, catching, how many people have had players that you're like, oh, if they could catch the ball, they'd be amazing. I had one at the under-20 nationals this year in Kane Waters. He's a centre from Coburn now, was Rockingham, went to AIS for 4 years, dude can't catch the ball. But how much have we done to help him learn to catch the ball? You know, it's hard in that situation, not spending a lot of time with them, but as a club, can we help our athletes become better at catching the ball? We spend a lot of time on ball handling and shooting, but it's important we teach them the proper aspects and how to do these things properly. Finishing, different type of finishing as they go through the age groups. Individual defense, again, we have a lot of team concepts, but we need to teach our players to defend first, defend their player first, and then we can work out from there. So understanding that individual defense is the backbone of what we do, and then offhand development. Now, the amount of players in our under-12s and under-14s, even up to under-18s that struggle with offhand finishing is crazy. And it's something we need to put some focus in. So that's an area as coaches, we need to make sure that we're really focusing and putting an emphasis on. With the mental side of things, so the psychological aspects, so resilience is something we've spoken to, and mental toughness. Can our players push through adversity? If things aren't going well, what are the things we can help our players with, or what advice can we give our players to help them get through those situations? Now, outside of basketball, concentration is a massive issue. You talk to parents, oh, my kids can't concentrate, my kids can't concentrate. The amount of parents we have come through, how much are we forcing them to have to concentrate and lock in and stay focused, which is another one there, on what they're trying to achieve. So we play a really important part at developing these areas, a positive attitude, the right attitude, you know, that competitiveness, that desire to get out there and be the best version of yourself that you can be. You know, we play a really important part of the mental side of the game, which I think is one of the most important things that will help them moving forward outside of basketball as well. If we've got players that can push through adversity, that can knuckle down and get a job done, they're going to succeed in most areas in life. Game sense. So decision making, putting our players in situations that they need to make decisions and doing that consistently and allowing them a little bit of freedom to be able to make decisions on the fly. Now, we have a lot of, I see a lot of training. We have a lot of, you must be here, you must be there. We don't have a lot of, let's go out there and let's play and let's see what sort of decisions our players are making, because in game situations, you know, that's what they're at. You can't stop a game. You know, you can stop a drill, but you can't stop a game. So let your players explore, talk to them about it, but make sure that they're making decisions, understanding timing and how important timing is, not just for themselves, but getting their teammates open. It's the same with spacing, you know, letting them why they space, where they space to, but why they're spacing to those points and what it's going to create for them, maybe 2 or 3 passes down the line, but for a teammate as well, just by hitting a corner rather than running to the 45. You know, is that going to create a lane for someone else or an opportunity for someone else? Understanding, reading the play is important. How are they defending? What are teams doing to stop us from doing what we're doing? And allowing our games, the players to understand that on the fly and make those decisions. And as they get older, clock control is really, really important. Now, every aspect of our game, there is time involved. So 3 seconds in the keyway, 5 seconds with the ball, 8 seconds in the backcourt, 24-second shot clock, 10-minute quarters, 14-second resets. Every single aspect of our game is timed. So understanding time and what they need to be doing in certain situations when it comes to time. And that's something that takes a lot of time. So I don't expect under 12 coaches that don't have shot clocks to really dig deep into these. But as they get older, and we've got players that are going into tournaments for state teams, that are going into the SBL, that are playing at a higher level, these are things that they need to understand, because that will allow them to be successful when they get to the next level, or the level that they're playing with shot clock. Finding the hot hand, understanding where your mismatches are. You know, making reads on the fly to say we can expose teams by doing these things. We teach our players that, and it's something that needs to be emphasised. The intellectual side of the game, so just our overall smarts. Now, a few teachers in here, or people that have been doing this for a long time, but people learn differently. So some people are quick learners, some people aren't quick learners, some people are adaptable, but people will learn faster certain ways. So for me, I'm a doer. If I'm out there and I'm doing it, I learn a lot faster than sitting down and reading it on a piece of paper. Whereas some people learn faster if you put it on a piece of paper for them first, and then you get them out there to execute it. So that's part of understanding our players, understanding what makes them tick, and understanding what works for them. Having that interpersonal relationship with our players so that we know how they learn. We want to make sure that we adapt and we teach them different ways and allow them to learn how to learn in different ways as well. So giving our players film sessions, giving our players playbooks, having our players on court instructing at times is a fantastic way, because they're all different ways of learning, and it'll help build their intellectual skill set. Other areas that are really important is critical thinking when it comes to intellectual. So holding themselves accountable, holding their teammates accountable. But the next part is the interpersonal, but being able to do that in a way that isn't sort of going to hurt anyone's feelings, but you know, having that critical thinking and understand, and obviously that positive thinking as well, which is important. Now with the interpersonal or the social side of things, so we want to prepare people to be able to work with others well in this environment, outside of this environment, when they go to the next team. So teaching our players how to be a good teammate, and that might sound silly, but you can teach your players how to be good teammates by holding them accountable to the standards that we set. So standing up when they sub, you know, high-fiving, cuddling. The SBL men do a really good thing. They run in every single time. Every single time Andrew calls in, they run in and they get around each other. I think that's fantastic. Again, that wasn't there before. That's been instilled. So teaching them to be good teammates. Having them, teaching the ability how to fit in on and off the court. So understanding roles, yeah. When they leave us, when they leave our program, the next program they go to, they're probably going to be at the bottom of the pecking order. So they might be our best player in under 18s, then they go on to college, they're at the bottom. They need to understand how to play their role and build on that role. And that's part of the interpersonal skills. Being good teammates, supporting each other, celebrating others' success. And that's something that I believe in, and that's really important within our program and the programs I've had. And I've felt that when we have players that encourage each other and celebrate each other's wins, we become closer. We're a closer-knit team, which means that people aren't too concerned about the role that they have in the team. They're more than happy to come off the bench. I've had some of the best players in the league come off the bench. I had Michael Lay, he was one of the best players in the league, come off the bench, no issue at all, because his teammates celebrated his successes and understood what made it tick for him. Being able to communicate appropriately, so with that critical thinking, be able to go up to a teammate and say, look, on that possession, you probably should have been here. But doing it in a way that's respectful, but still holding your teammates to account. And then just having people that leave our programs and are good citizens. So people that leave here, they're respectful, they work hard, and we've helped them and set them up for some success. So that's the main areas when we're talking about the player attributes in the WolfPack Way. I'm happy to open up to some questions now, if anyone has any.
There's a question, Chris Housen just asked a really good one. I'm just going to unmute him, 2 seconds.
Yep.
Yep, far away, Chris.
Yeah, just asking ideas on how to build mental toughness. Like I've got under 12 Div 2 girls this season, and they're and obviously had under 16 girls last year, and sort of noticed a big gap, especially with the mental side of things. Any ideas on how to sort of lay that foundation out now, so that they can obviously progress, you know, as they go through the ranks?
Yep. So before I answer what I would do, what are some of the things you have done, Chris?
Oh, with the mental toughness side of things,
yep.
Probably pushing the girls outside of their comfort zone, and you know, obviously we do a lot of pre-season fitness, and just that sort of working outside of the box, and you know, sort of pushing the boundaries as much as they can, getting outside of their comfort zone, and making things not easy for them, like purposely, and that's as sort of just obviously just starting out as well, but just after some ideas really, just so I can sort of lay a good foundation for them.
Yeah, no, I agree. What I've done in the past, and that's worked really well for me, is pushing them to a point physically. So mentally, they have to be able to push through and execute what they need to execute. But if you don't want to get to that sort of severity, I put my players in situations which are nearly impossible. So shooting drills where they have to hit a certain amount in a certain amount of time, and you know, for them to hit that, it has to be, you know, you have to be basically near on perfect, and getting them to push through and seeing how they can focus and lock in and try and get to that target. And then once I've set targets, having that as our base platform. So this is the absolute lowest from this point in time that we can get, otherwise there's severe penalties. So if it's a shooting drill and they've hit 20, the next time that they hit under 20, you give them some sort of penalty or punishment, and then they understand that, well, I have to be locked in, I have to be focused, I'm meant to have to be mentally tough to be able to achieve this every single time. Putting them in game situations which are against them as well. So a lot of advantage, disadvantage. So it's a little weird, but having 4 defenders and 3 offensive players, and they have to score out of those situations, forcing them to have to make decisions when the cards aren't in their favour, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
And then there's obviously score scenarios that I use fairly significantly as well. So I might have my starters who I haven't been happy with. I'll have them down by 10 with a minute and a half and see what they can do to pull it out. Those sorts of scenarios build resilience and toughness, and you know, no matter that, never say die type attitude.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions there or in regards to Chris's mental toughness question on how they do things? No. All right. Next question is from Jason from Jay for you, Nixie.
Yep.
Hey Nixie. Yeah. So I was just you mentioned at the beginning just about club, team, and individual focusing. I just wanted to be clear. Do you see it as club first, then team, then individual?
Me personally,
or I guess how should?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the club is first, but we need to, when it comes to development, we need to be thinking what is the best for our players. For me, it's what is the best for this particular player to help him to achieve what he wants to achieve, without obviously, you know, not without it being at the detriment of the club. Yeah, but definitely the club first, and then player, you know, making sure, and then team. The team success will come if we develop our players correctly. So don't get me wrong, I want us to have team success, I really do, but I feel if we do it the right way and all of our ducks are in the row, so we do our basic skill development, we develop these player attributes, we're going to have successful teams, and we should see successful teams go through the whole program as they develop. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I guess particularly coaching under 12s, I think we've always tried to instill in them a sense of pride in the club first, and then obviously, you know, cohesion as a team, and then obviously individual development. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. And the second part of my question was, have the WolfPack Way, have you guys been developing a bit of an approach to what we want to be known as a club, e.g. like a strong defensive club, and have that as our main? Obviously we want all, you know, well-rounded players across the board, but is there a theme for our club that you guys want to take us in a certain direction of, or is that not the case?
Yeah, there is. So within the curriculum itself, there will be an offensive and a defensive philosophy with a style of play. So within that style of play, it'll basically, because there's style of play, and then there's system of play. So they're basically separate. So the style of play is what we want to be known as. So we're a team that pushes hard in transition, looks to penetrate, plays under control, understands spacing, and gets to receiver spots, and you know, on offense. And then defensively, you know, we're hard-nosed, we're great individual defenders, we communicate, we rebound on every possession. Just a few things that are in it. So the style of play is what we're perceived as. The system of play is how we're going to execute that basic style of play. So there is that style of play is what we want to be perceived as definitely. But there's also a system under that which will basically drive that style.
Yeah, great, awesome, thanks, mate.
Maurice.
Neil, did you have a question there, mate?
Just on that mental toughness, I think spot on the money, Nixie, but I think you need to make it fun as well, especially in the younger years. So yeah, put a time limit to it, put a shot, how many shots they need to get in, or what it may be, or what they need to do, but they've got to have some fun about doing it as well. So when they have fun, they're achieving their goals at the same time. So it's pretty important.
Yeah. 100% agree, and you know, when you think about what drives us to this sport and what drives us to any sport is the fact we enjoy doing it. So I think we're in an environment where we're above sort of domestic basketball, so there has to be a level of seriousness as well, but we want to make sure that it's fun. The overall thing has always been let's have people that want to be here, that want to be involved, that want to be a part of the Wolves. And if we are a little too serious 100% of the time, we're probably going to lose that. So I'm with you, Neil.
And I think just on that one as well, just to add to Nixie, from a real broad and overarching sort of value statement, really, I think what sort of Nixie's getting at with this is we want to be hard to play against, but fun to play for. We want to make sure that anybody who watches our teams play thinks, I don't want to play against these guys, but geez, I'd love to play for them. I think that's the overarching thing we're trying to get. And that goes to what Neil said about having fun, because we want to make sure that everything we do, these kids want to come back and keep playing for us year after year.
And just on top of that as well, when you talk to, you just think of yourself, what's the most fun part of playing? It's winning. Winning is the most fun part, just the jubilation, the joy. So if we set up our players to win, you know, they're going to be having a good time generally as well. We've all been in situations where we're losing, and that's a pretty hard run. It's a pretty hard run, and you've got to make sure that you sort of generate some fun in those environments as well. But if you're working hard, you're getting results, you know, we're seeing improvement, I think you'll find, and I'm more than happy to have these conversations, I could be wrong, but most of the time they're having fun doing that. Does that make sense?
Just Jace Powers, just a question about Wobble teams using scoreboards and clocks at training. Jace?
Yeah, Nixie, just hearing you talk about the player attributes and developing game sense and timing in particular, having watched you and Andrew at training, like you're often using the clock, whether it's to score, whether it's to time a drill, whether it's to time to see how much you score. And I can just see that as a really valuable tool for making players, helping players to develop that game sense. I'm just wondering if that's something that Wobble teams are able to access and use. I've always used my phone to time things, unless it's a scratch match or something. But yeah, just wondering.
Yeah, well, Andrew doesn't use the clock. He's got one of his million assistants or managers that do that for him, which just means that he's super organised and he's got his little followers, which is good. But we use the clock all the time, and I can't see there being an issue with using the clock as long as you've got someone there that knows how to use them. That's not an issue at all. It's just heading up to the office, asking them to turn the clock on. But I would have a clock on for every single training session you do. Every single one, because it holds you accountable to your time. You don't want to be in drills too long. And I think Andrew's going to talk about running a training session, any session, when he talks on Thursday anyway. But for me, every single session I have a clock on, and I'll make sure I stick to my times as well. And then I'll use that clock for when we have game scenarios too. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Did anybody else have any last questions or anything for Nixie or even Andrew before Thursday? No? All right, hey, thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate your time tonight. And please, by all means, we'd love to hear feedback from you guys and see what you think about how these things could work better. Also love to, I'll let Nixie finish off now, but also love to hear what topics we can work on and how to make things better for you guys, because we're trying to run these programs to make, in these times with not much basketball on the floor, as good as we can possibly make it for you guys to get something out of it. So please don't hesitate to let us know what we can do to make them better for you.
Right, so just before I get into this last bit here, just with the mental, those player attributes or anything regarding, you know, the WolfPack Way or our values or our vision, feel free to contact me directly. I'm more than happy to discuss these things. If you feel like it would be beneficial for you guys, for us to have sessions on specific attributes and how we can develop on them, because this is a bit of an overview, I'd be more than happy to have those sessions as well. So talking on certain drills, certain activities, certain things that we can do to work on those aspects as well. You just reach out, and if there's enough of you guys, then what I'll do is I'll get another Zoom session up and we'll talk about those. So feel free. I am a resource here, as is anyone that's working for the Wolves. So we're very welcome and open, and we want us to be a really successful organisation as a club. So we put a lot of time and a lot of energies because we love the place, and we're happy to help where we can. So if you want specifics, I'm more than happy to do that. Just a little reminder, just with each other, just remember to check in on each other. You know, I know we all have relationships here. It's a pretty tough time. I know some of the coaches I've checked in are struggling a little bit. So take the time to check in on each other. Make sure you get outside. I know I felt cooped up a little bit. We get outside and breathe the air. Watch your screen time. Don't get caught on those phones. Don't be afraid to ask for help at any point. If it's to do with basketball, if it's just to do with yourself, we're all here for each other. And take this time to invest in yourself. Do some upskilling, as I'd say. Get on some webinars. Jump on that Facebook group. There seems to be a heap of really good information that are going up there. Invest in these sessions as well. We've got some great coaches that are coming through that you'll learn a lot from. So take the time to invest in yourself. You know, this is when what we believe in really shows out. We're either going to sit on our hands or we're going to get to work and really achieve something fairly special. So thank you guys for logging in. Really appreciate it. Understand that I'm available basically at any point. When I say any point, I do have a family, but I'll do my best to shoot me a message, and I'll do my best to call you when I can.